And you know what? I would much rather be delusional and successful than be realistic and unhappy. Every person in this world who has ever done anything extraordinary has been called delusional at some point. Think about the entrepreneur who had big goals before they had any business experience, or the artist who just knew that they would be super famous. When that works out, we call them visionaries. But right before it works out, we call them delusional. And you know what? I would much rather be delusional and successful than be realistic and unhappy. And that's exactly what I want to talk about in today's video, which is the psychology of delusional self-belief. Why it actually works from a neuroscience and psychological perspective, why every successful person has it, and how to develop it for yourself, but also not be completely deranged and detached from your actual reality. Hi and welcome back to my channel. If you're seeing this face for the very first time, my name is Swasti and I like to make videos talking about literally everything under the sun, and you can find all that on my channel. I hope you take a moment out to subscribe to my channel and follow all my other videos. Now let's talk about delusion. Delusion can be defined as a false belief or believing in something before it is fully supported by evidence or rooted in reality. But here's the catch with that. Every company, every invention, every idea started as a belief, and someone backed it with their own belief before it could show any real evidence. If you look at any extraordinary success story, you will see that there will always be a phase where the person comes off as unrealistic or delusional, but the way to make it through is by belief. There are so many actors who talk that they used to practice their acceptance speeches and big speeches, or how they would give autographs even before they landed any role in any movie or film. So many entrepreneurs who just knew that this idea would work and would preach about the idea even before there was anything actually happening. Now at that time those things sounded ridiculous, but when they actually became famous personalities, when they succeeded, we called them visionaries. So honestly, the only difference between your delusion and becoming a visionary is time. And it's not some magic, there's actually a very scientific psychological explanation of how this delusional self-belief actually helps you in changing your life, and that is rooted in how actually your brain functions. Now the truth is, our brain actually doesn't perceive reality as it is. It is sort of like a prediction machine, and it actually predicts reality for us. And that happens on the basis of all your previous experiences and knowledge that you have. For example, if I give you a random word like a shroom boat, your brain will run random simulation trying to come up with an image of it. The truth is, it might give you something which is maybe related to something like a mushroom and a boat, but it won't be able to give you an accurate image because A, that word does not exist, B, your brain doesn't know what it is. That is why when you learn new words, you are unable to actually imagine them or visualize them till you understand what they mean. When you understand what they mean, your brain takes up all that references and comes up with a image that sort of matches the description of that thing that you are talking about. But it is not always giving accurate predictions, right? That's why learning is so important. The thing is, our brain runs simulations every day. It takes everything from our past experiences, environment, what people have told about you, things you have succeeded in, things you have failed in. And it uses all of that to predict things for you, including the future that you imagine for yourself. Now that's a great way for the brain to work, right? But the problem here is it also takes in consideration all the rejections, the failures, the things that did not work out for you, and processes that as well. The big problem arises when it starts using more of this evidence to predict your future rather than the evidence where things have been positive or things have worked out in your favor. It's not that the brain is trying to hurt you, but unconsciously we all start moving towards a future that we don't actually want, and we get stuck in past loops because we are not dealt with whatever's happened in the past, and our brain keeps kind of predicting the same future for us. Instead of predicting your future according to your potential or your current behavior, our brain predicts future according to what your past failures have been. And your past experiences kind of shape up your expectations, right? And those expectations shape your behavior. And because your behavior is actually shaped by your past experiences, you kind of have the same behavior, and we get stuck in this kind of a loop. But this loop, this cycle can be broken and we have to break it. And that is exactly why delusional self-belief is so important and can help you break this loop. When you choose to believe something that is not yet supported by evidence, you choose to break that simulation and give your mind a new simulation. You give them something new to imagine, give them a new future to predict. Now imagine if someone decides that they are going to be super rich, but their current reality is that they are broke. The reality and the simulation you want your brain to kind of process are two different things. So your brain goes into a sort of a cognitive dissonance where it doesn't like this tension, because it's like, okay, you're telling me to believe this, but this is what I can see. I can see this evidence and it's more towards this. So the brain doesn't like this tension and it wants to solve it as soon as possible. Now there are two very simple ways to solve it. One is either tell yourself that, you know what, this is the reality, and you shrink your belief, you shrink the simulation. You start telling yourself things like, okay, I was being unrealistic, that is not achievable, this is practical, this is something I can do, and you try to kind of accept this reality. Or the other way, which is the way of the visionaries and the delusionals, is to hold that belief true and keep at it. They refuse to let that belief go, and even though the reality doesn't match the belief yet, they make sure that their behavior matches that belief. They make sure that they are showing up every day to match that reality. And the truth is, the reality never changes overnight. It will take weeks, months, sometimes even crazy number of years. But the belief, that stays unshaken, that stays true. And how you actually show up for that belief, you change that. You take more risk, you make mindful decisions, you choose this belief over anything and everything else. Even when the reality is still down there, they choose to sit in that cognitive dissonance, in that tension, even if it's uncomfortable. Most people don't like to sit in it, but the visionaries, they sit in it, they stay in it till little wins, little evidences of this reality, of this belief, start showing up in their reality, and slowly and surely the gap gets closed. There's a very interesting dialogue in one of my favorite movies. It is, मैं अपना सपना नहीं बदलूंगा कि वो मेरी सच्चाई से मेल खाए, मैं अपनी सच्चाई बदलूंगा कि वो मेरे सपनों से मेल खाए. That's exactly what this entire topic is summed up, right? You change your reality to make sure they match your dreams. You don't shrink your dreams to make sure that they match your reality, because your reality is something that you are choosing. So we can change that. Another very interesting thing about our brain is that it doesn't just respond to reality. It responds to things that are familiar to it, things that it kind of knows. So if success feels unfamiliar to you, if confidence feels unfamiliar to you, your brain will automatically push you towards failure or staying shy or staying in your zone. So you have to consciously make your brain, your body, your environment familiar to the reality that you want. If you repeatedly step into that identity of yourself that you want, your brain starts believing in it. This is exactly why things like affirmations and visualizations work for you. Even if you don't believe in manifestation, these are actually great techniques to boost your own confidence. And in fact, psychologists also call it a mental rehearsal, where you kind of rehearse how you will show up if you had everything in your life. The idea is to show up like that. Now, if you're someone like me who believes in the power of manifestation and the universe, of course, this is a great thing to do. But even if not, this is one of the greatest ways to boost your self-confidence and actually feel better in your current reality as well. Because no matter what's happening outside, inside, at least you're showing up as the potential you want to be. But you know what, when we are talking about delusion, it is very important for us to talk about what is that line that lies between healthy, productive delusion versus being completely unhinged. And the major difference is action. Productive delusion is something that isn't there in evidence yet, but this belief, this very strong belief, makes you take the action. For example, let's say you decide that I am going to be an amazing musician. So what do you do from tomorrow? You start learning an instrument, you start practicing, you get better at it, you perform, you do, and you follow those steps. The point is for this belief, for this delusion to fuel that fire in you, to fuel action in you. That is what keeps you passionate in life. This belief, this delusion will actually pull you towards the effort that you have to put in, and that's how you put in that effort every day. Your mind starts thinking in that direction. You're like, okay, I have to do this. I have to be a great musician. So you make sure you don't waste your time and you're putting this effort into this. Unhinged illusion, on the other hand, is where you just believe in something but you don't do anything about it. You actually use that belief to avoid the reality and avoid taking any actions towards that reality. So if you just believe that you're going to get very rich, but you waste all of your time watching Splitsvilla all day or scrolling through reels, you don't build any skills, you don't do anything productive, you are not putting your brain at all towards the thing that you want, which is money, then that's not really going to happen. Then this is just a form of mental masturbation, if I may. Here, the belief essentially just replaces the effort. But what we need is the belief for this delusion to fuel our effort. Productive delusion makes you want to run towards the work, makes you want to do better. Unhinged delusion wants you to run away from reality. That's as simple as that. But the point is, be delusional. That's okay. That's completely okay. You don't have to listen to anyone telling you that this is too unrealistic or this is not achievable, because I believe if it was not achievable to you, it would have not crossed your mind, it would have not come to you from within. So if there is a dream that you have, stick to it, believe in it, work towards it, work super hard towards it, and use this delusional self-belief and optimism to make sure it adds more positivity in your life. Because what is really the point of being super realistic but being unhappy in life? Like, as I said, I would much rather be delusional and happy and successful than being realistic, knowing about everything in the world, being super aware but being unhappy. So the goal isn't to be perfect or perfectly realistic, but just being delusional enough that you believe that the reality that you want, the reality that you imagine, that future that you can see that you want is within reach, is possible, and just making sure that you believe in that for long enough till your actual reality catches up to that image. Because while being realistic will definitely keep you safe, but I feel being delusional, that's where you can actually make dreams come true. And maybe that might be the reason why you don't settle for a life that's smaller than what you're actually capable of. That was it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. Please do let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done yet. And I will see you very soon with another video. Till then, stay happy, stay healthy, and take care of yourselves. Bye.